Welcome to Women Leading Change, the podcast that amplifies the voices and missions of women changemakers from around the world. My name is Laureen Nolan-Card, women's leadership expert, and I'm going to share the strategies that women changemakers use to successfully lead in bold new ways that are in alignment with their values and true to themselves. Listen weekly as I share personal insights and inspiring interviews with women who are being the change they seek to see. So you too can evolve your own leadership skills, grow your own paradigm-shifting business and mission, and be the change we're all seeking. Joining me today is Julia James. Julia is a certified life coach with over 15 years experience coaching people through positive career transformations. Based on her own quest for career clarity and her clients' successes, Julia feels strongly that career fulfillment extends to every area of life. Author of the award-winning book, The Mini Retreat Solution, Julia provides tools to relax quickly and connect with your inner wisdom. Her calm, positive energy infuses everything she does. Julia's commitment to personal growth and happiness is contagious. And I can tell you from spending time with her that that is indeed true. She is one of those people who fills a room with her energy, which is both positive and calming and also very uplifting. Welcome, Julia. I'm so glad you're here with us.
I'm so glad to be here, Laureen, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, I want to jump right in and ask you, Julia, what change is it that you're leading in the world right now?
Thank you for asking. Well, the change I'm leading is about positive career transformation. I really love helping people find their calling, really. It's about finding work that's truly meaningful for you and that really energizes and inspires you. And I feel like when we get into that place of doing the work that we're really meant to do on this planet, everything else aligns in life. You know, you feel healthier, happier, and more connected all around. And yeah, while this finding your purpose, it seems to be so easy for many other parts in nature, like flowers and bees, they just know what to do intuitively. And for humans, however, this journey can really be tough. And it was challenging for me to find my calling. Yeah, and so I really, really believe that we need support on this journey, and that's my leadership comes in right there.
How would one start? What would be the starting point of finding your calling or your purpose?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really does sound very big. And I think for a lot of my clients, when they first realize that they're looking for that, it's more like the realization, I'm not happy at work. This is not working for me. I feel kind of stuck. Those are more the things that they notice initially. And that they really are longing for something that is more meaningful, something where they feel like they're making a contribution, they're doing something that really matters to them, and where they're feeling connected to a change that, a positive change that they want to lead in the world. So ultimately, it's really about me leading these people into becoming the change leaders they want to be.
Right.
Sort of call it that. And so in terms of the first step on their own, like what people can do on their own right away, and I always encourage that, is to actually tune in to the things that come natural, that come easy, that bring you joy. And start doing just a little bit more of that. And It doesn't have to be career related at all.
Right.
Sometimes, we kind of discard the things that we love to do because they're like, well, I can't make money doing that. But just start anyways, doing a little bit more of that kind of stuff. And it just will increase the energy that you have. available. And also, so often I see that there's so much information, so much rich information hidden in those things that we just naturally love to do that actually can really lead us in the way. And again, you don't have to figure that out on your own. That's where I step in and help with the discovery process. But yeah, as a first step, really leaning into joy and into those things that you just love to do.
Yeah. And do you find that people tend to undervalue the things that they do quite naturally and easily, intuitively?
Yes. I would say the answer is really yes. We mostly do undervalue that, including me when I was on that journey. I just thought that it wasn't anything special, because what happens is the things that come so naturally to us and so easily, we feel like they're just, doesn't everybody think like that, or doesn't everybody do this anyways? And no, the answer is no. And also, I think we've come to associate work with something that has to be a challenge, or that has to be hard, or a struggle.
Right.
Like even the word work. Like I was once working with a client, and she really had to stop calling it work, because as soon as she was talking about work, she felt all heavy and frustrated and all of that. And I said, we don't have to call it work. It could just be, your engagement, or like you can come up with another term, or your like, your contribution or something like that. So it's so interesting how we are in this culture, so much conditioned to see work as something that has to be hard, and where we then, the things that come easy and that are playful, or that are just, where we can just lose ourselves, where we feel so happy, that we sort of disassociate them from anything that we could make money with.
Right. Yes. What's your vision? So if everyone were to find their calling and to be engaged and make money from from that place of ease and joy and purpose, what's your greatest vision for humankind?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. I just see a world filled with a lot more kindness and care and happiness and peace and well-being and connection and collaboration and ease, and fulfillment. And as you imagine this world with me, it's just like you can see the smiling faces, and just it's so meaningful, and I think the whole sense of like, struggle and frustration and competition and all of that will just fall off. And I think the other piece also, this vision that I have is a very abundant vision where there is enough for everyone. And we can, we're all valued. We're all appreciated for what we bring, for the special gifts we bring. And we value each other. And so it's like this, I love the term mutual flourishing. It's a place of where we are mutually flourishing and just expanding, because I believe that's actually why we're here. We're on this journey because the universe, is naturally always expanding, and so are we. And so on this path, when we connect with our calling, it's just an ever expanding experience of life. Very rich.
Yes, beautiful. What would you say to the people who, I'm sure you've encountered this before, but what would you say to the people who say that's like a pipe dream? That's not possible. Work is hard, and it's always been, and it always will be. What do you say to them? Yeah.
Well, it's like, what do you say to them? The song "Imagine" from John Lennon comes to mind,
right?
And yes, you may say I'm a dreamer,
right?
But I'm not the only one, and because I really believe that we are on a really pivotal point in human history. I mean, we're as a species, we're still pretty young. And I feel like we're in this realm of, teenage experience right now as a species. And we are really, there is this place where we can really find ourselves right now and really get on the path that's true. And so I believe there is a huge shift coming, and we can all, we are all part of this, and we might as well become, active participants.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if I answered the question of like, what would I do? What would I say to these people, to the naysayers? It's often, of course, the work starts with the people where there is a little bit of a crack of an opening.
Right. Yeah.
And often the crack of an opening comes through the pain, through the suffering.
Right.
Just being stuck in a place that's really not working anymore.
Right.
Sometimes there are some physical health issues that come along with that, or mental health issues. And when you're really in pain and you cannot move forward any longer in this trajectory, I think that's where sometimes the readiness comes from people to reach out and to seek something more meaningful.
Right. So when we're on our knees, we're ready to ask for help, usually. Yeah. We are tough. We are a tough species, aren't we?
Yes, very resilient.
Very resilient. Yeah. And there's a lot of talk in the coaching industry about making leaps. If you're not happy where you are, you make a leap and you knit the parachute as you're on the way down. And I haven't, that's super scary, right? I haven't asked you this, so I don't even know what your answer will be, but I am curious about whether or not you found that to be the case. Have you any stories to share about how people have made the leap? Or is it a case of in your work, you've seen more people kind of building the bridge as they go?
Yes, it's the later is true for most people. And it is building the bridge as you go. I love that metaphor. And another metaphor that I often like to use is like really it all starts with baby steps.
Right. So
I don't believe in the leaping part because it's so scary and brings up all the fears. And also my business is called, Career Clarity Coaching. So it's all about having clarity. And often in the beginning, when people start out, there's a lot of confusion. So they don't have clarity. And I don't recommend leaping before you actually know where you're leaping to.
Right. Yeah.
And that's sort of the thing where often the fear also pops up so tremendously, because it's like, well, I'm just going to go for it. But if you don't know where you're going, sort of like get into your car and you don't know where you're going, well, you may not end up where it's actually good for you. Right. You may end up in another place that's not working. So that's why the baby steps of discovery of in connecting with your innate strengths, with befriending change, making small little changes that are and improving your life. It doesn't even have to initially be work related. It could be changing something in your personal life, maybe where you do your workout or something that may be just more positive for you. And starting with these really small and sometimes even seemingly insignificant changes actually gives us the leverage to then eventually make bigger changes and become more comfortable with the bigger changes. And once we have, what I see in my clients is once you actually have the laser clarity of what your calling is and what you're meant to do in the world, well, then the leap actually doesn't feel so much like a leap anymore. Right. It still is, but it's like, you know exactly where you're leaping.
It's more like one big step.
Yes. And it's also, and usually again, it's more like a series of steps. It's not one big thing that you do. And I think sometimes when we talk about the leaping, we almost discount all the small steps that lead to this, to this change. It's really often, I think I'm a firm believer in like consistency and taking small, consistent action steps. That's where I see the big transformation happening. I find sometimes when we just try to do knee jerk, big thing, then we bounce back and we don't actually get to the place where we really want to be.
What are some of the transformations that you've seen?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, I've witnessed one of my clients. His name is John. He was an accountant and he wasn't happy. He really didn't. He just wasn't an accountant at heart, but he didn't really quite know what he was. And in his journey, he eventually came to the place where he realized he really wanted to be a paramedic. So completely different, and the change that he manifested was so big. And at the same time, it was all like the journey of getting there was sort of one step at a time. And he first changed within, the financial sector, and he was sort of looking within there. But it really came to him that when he was actually standing at a red traffic light and just was annoyed about the light not changing. And then he just had this thought of like, well, who can drive through the red light? The ambulances. And then he just got curious about it and started looking into it and got really excited, and then took the training. And once he was in the training, he really felt like he had found his tribe. All the other people in the training and the trainers and everybody was just like him. And so just, very people oriented and very action oriented and very much, in their body and moving fast. And so it was a huge transformation for him. And cool. He was actually also dealing with a lot of health challenges when he was in the accountant role. And now he's just, happy and healthy.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So very, very unexpected. I didn't know. The thing is that I don't actually know where people are going to find their calling. And another client of mine, she had been in the hotel industry for decades and knew that she was done with that, but also had been out of the working force for a while because she and her husband were living in countries where she didn't have a work permit. And so it was both the challenge of finding her way back into being, a businesswoman, and also changing paths at the same time. And reconnecting with her strengths and with the things that just naturally bring her joy. One piece at a time, we puzzled it all together. And she found her calling as an editor for a fashion magazine.
Oh, wow.
And
that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And she is super happy doing that. And again, it was both that reconnecting with her confidence and with her courage and with the strengths that are really innately within her. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Do you find that some people, after working with you, actually stay in the jobs they're in, but they do them differently?
Yes. Yeah, very much so. And sometimes it's surprising. I've worked with a number of nurses, for example, where they were absolutely sure that they needed a big change and that they needed to completely change careers because that was absolutely not working for them. And then through the journey of, again, discovering of what makes them feel strong and what they love to do and what brings them joy, they actually realized that they loved nursing. It was just the conditions and the work environment and the way things were done that wasn't working for them. And then once they had that clarity, they could look within their field for sort of niche positions where it would be a different experience. And they, both of these nurses found a niche that really was working well for them and where they had more control and more choice and just really could design how they were contributing.
Right.
And so it's often the case. And at the onset, again, we don't know whether it's going to be a complete change from, accountant to paramedic or whether it's going to be a shift within your profession and, but changing the employer or changing the parameters or changing the amount that you work. It can be all kinds of things.
Which brings me to a question I always like to ask about how you make decisions, because I think that a lot of people have difficulty making decisions and people have their own ways of doing it. And so I want to ask you, Julia, how do you make, tough decisions? Do you have a guiding force or do you have a not so much a formula, but an important way of navigating important decisions.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. And I agree. It's a really important part. And it, of course, also plays often into this whole journey. Mm-hmm. A lot of decision making
Yes.
as you find your calling, of course. And I really strongly believe in my intuition. So that's my guiding force, tuning in to the wisdom of my body and my spirit, and into this deep knowing of what really deeply resonates. And when sometimes I find a resonance in something that from the logical perspective seems like a poor choice, or seems weird or strange or whatever. And but I have come to the place in my life where I trust that intuition more than my logical brain. And then it's often only after the fact that it all makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah.
Later or something. But I have become more comfortable, and I am becoming more and more comfortable with being in this sort of mysterious unfolding, and find it actually quite exciting to be on this journey, because it is really like we're all on this journey and we don't exactly know how it's going to unfold. But leaning into this inner knowing is really, as from my experience, is really, guiding me down the right path ultimately. Yeah.
Have you always trusted your intuition?
No, of course not. No. Yeah. So
how did you get to this place of being able to trust it?
Yeah, thank you. So it's really my practice, my daily practice of Qigong and meditation, connecting with nature, that has helped tremendously on this journey of connecting more and more deeply with my intuition, along with, of course, all the coach training that I have received and all the coaching I'm giving. It's like I'm helping other people lean into their intuition. And I am really also noticing my own intuition so much. I'm working with my intuition in each coaching call as well. So there's been just a lot more focus on even just the awareness that there is intuition, and then listening to it and tuning in. And I believe it's we really do need to find ways to tune in to connect with the intuition. It's the figuring things out by logic. We can often, draw out the pros and the cons and do a lot of like brainy, exercises. But it's ultimately, when we tune into the intuition, it's very much an internal process. And so my journey of just finding, I guess what prompted me to go down this path of wanting to connect more with my intuition was actually the noticing that when I was making these decisions just with my logical brain, that it wasn't working out so well. So that's, for example, how I chose my past career. I was a scientist before I became a career clarity coach. And it was very much a decision that, this would be good, for the planet, because again, I was all about saving the planet at that time too. Yeah. But it was more like, well, if I want to make a difference, I need to study science, because that's where we will make a change. Now I know, of course, that's absolutely not the only way to make a change. But it was sort of a head decision. And I think each time that I navigated from this logical place, it didn't work out so well. And that's why ultimately I trust the intuition a lot more, because that's when things unfold beautifully.
Right. And you've had positive experiences when you do that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, for example, the whole journey into coaching and becoming a career clarity coach, that was guided by my intuition. And and I mean, recently, just things like I was thinking that I would like to, or the idea, sort of the intuitive hit that I would like to offer a career clarity mini retreat in one of my clients' homes because she's recently moved and she loves her new place. And I love working with this client. And I just had this feeling that it would be good. And so I checked in with her and she's like, I love the idea. And so now this is actually happening this Saturday, and so I'm excited. But it wasn't something where I thought, well, how do I get more clients? And
right.
But it was just more. I woke up in the morning, I thought, ooh, I would like to do this somehow. Mm-hmm. And then I just, I'll just check in with her to see what she thinks. And she was delighted. And so then she's done all the promotion, and there'll be 7 people there, and they've already all paid me. And it's just like, very, very little effort on my part. That's what I find too, with like leaning into the intuition. Again, things just get easier, and all this, struggle essentially fades away.
Right. Beautiful. So instead of being this uphill battle, you're going with what feels good and what feels right, and things get easier. Yes. And you come out in a better place than you could have even imagined with your logical brain.
Very true.
Exactly. Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. So intuition and trusting that is your guiding force in making decisions.
Yes. Yeah. And then, the way I feel intuition, it is, sometimes an image with this idea, for example, of leading the mini retreat in my client's home. It was just, I got this image, and sometimes it's more like a body sensation or a feeling. The intuition communicates in different ways at different times, but it's really listening in.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a practice of listening and getting good at listening. Mm-hmm. And knowing what it is, because I'm sure that you've seen this in your clients where it's tough to tell the difference between intuition and fear. So is it your intuition talking to you or your fears talking to you? It can be difficult to discern at the beginning of that practice.
Absolutely. And that's again where I come back to, we don't have to go this journey alone.
Right.
And it's like, I of course also receive coaching and receive support, and I'm not doing this journey alone. Mm-hmm. I think that is the other piece in our culture, specifically North American culture, where we've been so conditioned to this like lone ranger, that sort of frontier spirit of like, we do this alone. And it wasn't true then, and it's definitely not true now. We're always, we always do things with the support of others. Mm-hmm. Whether we're aware of it or not. But I think consciously seeking out support, I see that as a huge strength and not as a weakness. I think we all, it's another realization of like, we are interconnected and we need each other.
Mm-hmm. We do need each other. And sometimes it can get really difficult. Right now, the climate of our culture and all that's going on in the world right now can be pretty heavy and difficult. And fear and anger, it can be a natural place for people to go to. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how we navigate this difficult global landscape from a place of love versus fear and anger.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for asking, Lorraine. Well, I strongly believe that, love is the most powerful force.
Yes.
In the universe. It is just so powerful. And so the more we can actually lean into the truth that in our essence, we all are love.
Yes.
And sometimes for some people, it's like when you hear this for the first time, it's sort of like, what's she talking about? But it is our intrinsic nature. Love is our intrinsic nature. And it's really more and more leaning into the truth that that's really fundamentally who we are. So when we are acting out of fear or hate, we're misaligned with our intrinsic nature. We're sort of, we're a lot more wobbly and we're not as strong. We're not as powerful. So I believe it's like really connecting with the love that we are and with the love that the universe is. It's like we are all part of this universe. And so we are all we are all love. And even imagining, I think often we see ourselves as separate, as individuals walking around. And really we're so interconnected that I love this image. Sometimes when I need to reconnect with the concept of that we're all one, I imagine just a huge, beautiful flower, and imagine just that we're all petals of this one huge flower.
Mm-hmm.
You can also imagine like a big organism, and we're all cells of this big organism.
Mm-hmm.
We're all one. And when we see things that are concerning for us in the world, I think it is more powerful to send love and send healing in that direction than to freeze into fear or to get angry about these things. And of course, anger exists and it also has its right place, but it's almost like then getting into that fierce love from the anger place,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe it's very, very powerful when we can. And also when you look at how change has really occurred in the past, how positive transformation has happened, it's been through love, like,
Right.
like Gandhi,
Mm-hmm.
and Mandela. It's like this, that's the power of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the systems that were based on fear, dictatorships and so on, they've all, over time. And of course, sometimes it takes a long time for those systems to collapse, but they are not really powerful, even though they seem powerful.
Mm-hmm. And it can be really painful too. It can be, on an individual and collective basis, it can be really painful. We can lose loved ones. We can have loved ones be, tortured, and really brutal things can happen in the world.
Absolutely. And then all the more it's so important to lean into and reconnect with that intrinsic nature that we already are love.
Mm-hmm.
There've been, I can't remember her name, but there was this woman who was in a really, really small room in Africa while, lots of turmoil was happening outside. And she was there in this really, really small room with, I think, 5 or 6 other women.
Oh, yes. I think I remember this. Yes.
Yeah. And she actually realized anytime she was really angry, her situation was terrible and unbearable. Mm-hmm. And when she leaned back into love, she was actually in this blissful place in this really awful little, bathroom that was hot and sticky and smelly and all, mm-hmm. Not enough water, not enough food. But when she connected with love, she was actually happy, even in really, seemingly really awful situation. So I believe that if we really can lean into that and realign with our true nature, even in very, very trying circumstances, and that's where we tap back into our true power. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, we are doing this together. So I think it's very important to remember that we don't have to do this alone. We don't have to go this alone, and connecting, mm-hmm. collaborating with other people is always more powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's mm-hmm. a very thoughtful and astute answer. I appreciate it. Which brings me to wondering if you could suggest any changes kind of in our global leadership, the qualities that our global leaders embody. What would you like to see more of?
Yeah. Well, my dream would be sort of like a Dalai Lama kind of leadership.
Right. Yeah.
Or like an Elizabeth May kind of leadership. It's that, like, I would say really connecting with the wisdom, the compassion, the love, kindness, collaboration. And those are really what I see as fundamentally like very positive leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we help you as you are leading in your space mm-hmm. and your vision of people being able to support themselves financially in their callings and bringing their gifts and their brightest parts of themselves who they are meant to be in this world. As you bring that vision and help others to become that, how can we support you financially or otherwise?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking, Lorraine. And I feel like the strongest support is really encouraging the people in your circle to take the steps. So encouraging them to not stay stuck in a job that's not working for them. Mm-hmm. Encouraging them to start leaning into what is it that really brings them joy, and encouraging to seek support on this journey to finding something that's more fulfilling for them. Mm-hmm. And I believe as we do that, as we encourage other people to take these steps, and also, of course, we ourselves are taking these steps, it's sort of that ripple effect is happening, and more people are transforming. And it's just that momentum keeps on building. Mm-hmm. We're creating we're creating our future together, really. Right,
and the collective becomes infused with that different energy.
Absolutely. And that just like that, that feeling of possibility and abundance and really, really living into our potential just becomes a reality. And what I offer is a free career clarity consultation for anybody who is ready to get clear on their calling, get clear on their fulfilling career path. And so if there's someone in your circle that is sort of ready, or where you have a sense they are ready, then just connecting them with me, and I would be very happy to have a conversation, because it ultimately always starts with a conversation and always begins with that with the noticing if that's the right time and for them.
Yes, thank you. And how can we connect with you then? I'll put your information in the show notes. But you can just tell us how we can connect with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my website is Julia James, JuliaJames, all one word, and then .ca for Canada. Mm-hmm. And then on my website, you can connect with me via like message, or you can also call me. And also you can sign up for my e-newsletter, The Spark of Inspiration, and receive 3 steps to get unstuck right away.
Oh, great. That sounds great. Thank you.
Free offering. Exactly. So so on my website, there's all kinds of ways to connect with me and all kinds of hugely valuable information. So encourage you to check it out. JuliaJames.ca.
Thank you, Julia. Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate your time today and such thoughtful conversation. And thank you for sharing your heart and your gifts with us as you shine your light from its place of joy in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. And I just so appreciate your way of asking questions and engaging in meaningful dialogue. And you are such a beautiful spirit. And I really appreciate your contribution and creating this forum for women to share their vision. Yeah.
Thank you. That feels like great appreciation. That really feels good. Thank you.
You're so welcome, and thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to iTunes and subscribe. When you leave us a review, I'll select one lucky reviewer each month to receive a special prize. You can also find us on the very special Divas That Care network at divasthatcare.com. Until next time, keep being you.